I am excited about this episode because I have my husband joining me here. Today, we are going to talk about financial freedom.
Whoa.
So, why this topic? I'm all about, with Live Your Heart Out, all about living fully, living vibrantly, and living really the life that your heart calls you to live. And a big obstacle I hear all the time is you need money to live like that. And we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about,
Sure.
do we need money to live your heart out? And if so, maybe how much? And we're going to talk about really what it looks like to have financial freedom. So if you want to have financial freedom in your 40s and beyond, or maybe even earlier than this is the episode to tune into. If you're a woman who's on a path of healing and transformation, it's time to live your heart out. My name is Nancy Ma, and I'm a physiotherapist, a family woman, and a dreamer just like you. Join me each week as I share a way of living where you'll feel more alive, vibrant, and free. Welcome back. Thank you for being here.
You're welcome.
So my husband Brian has been a really big motivator for me, and he is a holy rich man. So that's his thing. That's what he does, and he teaches men how to be rich holistically. And we're talking about rich in your relationships, rich as a father figure, rich
in your health,
and rich
in your value, bringing your value into the world, which, as a byproduct, you will get paid money for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So let's start with, what does financial freedom mean to you when you hear that? Because, that's the buzz phrase. I just want to have financial freedom.
Financial freedom. This is an interesting one because growing up, my parents, they were quite poor financially. So they had like a very poor mindset around it because they came from like a communist country and everything. Now, financial freedom is...
Wait, so can we qualify what poor means? Like, when you say your parents were poor, financially and in mindset, what did that look like?
So it was kind of tough because collectively, they made probably about maybe $40,000 in a year together.
Okay.
And then like every purchase, even if it was like a lemon at the grocery store or whatever it would be like everything was expensive. Mm-hmm. So that was always the language that they would use, and they would always just like act from a place of fear. There was always this lack of, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what I meant by that.
Was it very stressful living under those circumstances?
I wouldn't call it super stressful because that's all I knew. I was just a child. In fact, I didn't really see them that much. They kind of dropped me off at my grandparents' house where, a few of my aunts lived, and then my uncle lived there. And then they would just drop me off for like five days and then go to work. Everything would be for money.
Okay. So go back to, what does financial freedom mean to you?
It means that you have the ability to just do mostly what you want to do with whomever you want to do it with, and mostly when you want to do it.
Okay, you say mostly, but...
Yeah,
okay.
I say mostly because sometimes you just got to be in certain places, right?
Sure. So, what I hear all the time is...
Yeah,
if I want to be sitting on a beach somewhere and I don't want to be anywhere near here.
Right.
So in order to have financial freedom, then would you say that you need money? You need a lot of money to be able to do that?
It depends. It depends on what a lot of money is. Because that brings me back to the story I heard in Tim Ferriss's book, 4 Hour Work Week, where he was like just talking to his friend one day. Remember that story?
No. Oh yeah.
He was asking his friend, "Hey, so you just got this amazing job, like, and the person's making like maybe $100,000-$200,000 a year, like, mm-hmm. Right? And then the friend goes, yeah, another 10 years, I'm going to be making $2 million a year. And then Tim goes to the person and says, okay, so what are you going to do at that point? It's like, oh, well, at that point, I can go to places like Thailand and then I'll be like, living the life.
Okay.
And he was saying that, and Tim was sharing that because like basically a lot of people don't realize they could be living the life right now. They don't actually have to wait. So.
Right. Yeah, not having to wait. So having the financial freedom to do whatever you want, whenever you want, with whomever you want.
For the most part.
For the most part. So would you say that we have reached a level of financial freedom?
Yeah, a level of it. I mean, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's not like, this might sound kind of weird, but it's not like I say, okay, we're gonna get here and then I've made it.
Right.
I don't do that. But based on what we've been able to create, like it's what, Wednesday in the middle of the day, and we're just like shooting an episode, speaking with cool people, but most people are at work, right? 9 to 5. So I would say, yeah, we created a life where we can mostly be where we want, do what we want, and just kind of like work on the things that excite us.
When would you say that you reached that, or we reached that as a family? When was that for you? What was the point where you're like, oh, I have financial freedom right now?
This might sound kind of funny too, because I don't actually even think in those terms. I'm like, oh, financial freedom, that's what I want and that's what I'm shooting for. I don't but for me it's almost like a sense of peace that I'm after. And
you and your peace.
Yeah, this shirt, 25 pieces put together. Okay, so it's got to be peace. What was your question? Oh, when? It honestly, like, I feel it's been quite recent, within the last year, 2 years. Like, I've had moments of like, wow, I get to do this. I'm so lucky. I'm so grateful. There are moments throughout the day, especially if we do get to go to a Turks and Caicos beach or something. I just feel so grateful because I look back at like what it took to get here, in terms of not just value bringing, but like the work, the spiritual work, the mental work that needed to happen in order for us to reach a place where we're so feeling financially, free.
Yeah, for sure. Peace is a big feeling associated with financial freedom. And I would say, I'm obviously like you. I guess that's not obvious to everyone, but my background, for those who might not know, is I grew up in a poor environment, in that when I was born, my parents were also refugees, and we lived in a small 1,200 square foot semi-detached house with 14 of my closest relatives. And my parents didn't make that much money. I think at the time they were making like $5 an hour. And we had to scrounge for every little thing. And McDonald's was a luxurious dinner for us. And that's why even though I'm very into health and wellness, McDonald's still is quite nostalgic. McDonald's experience is quite nostalgic for me. So I remember very vividly what it looks like and feels like to live with less. That said, to me, I agree that financial freedom means you have the freedom to choose. It means you have options. That you get to do what you want, when you want, with who you want.
For the most part.
So it means you have the freedom to choose. And it's, to me, financial freedom is less of what it looks like and more of a feeling. It is a feeling, because a lot of people who strive for financial freedom, they don't know what they're striving for because they don't know that feeling associated with it.
Right.
And I would say probably my first taste of financial freedom was when I was in university, and I got a job as a teaching assistant for second year genetics. And I was making bank then. At that time, I was making $24 an hour.
Holy smokes.
And I didn't tell my parents about it because they would take it away. Because all throughout high school, I worked every year, and my parents took all that money and gave it back to me in the form of paying for my education. But I never actually was able to hold on to money. So I got this job, and I didn't tell my parents, and we spent it all. And for us, we just had so much fun. Like, we've been together for 22 years, so he was there through those early glory days. And we'd go out to all-you-can-eat sushi and Indian food buffets, and we'd go shopping at the mall, and we'd just spend all that money. And to me, that was a taste of freedom, because growing up, my parents were so strict with money. They controlled every dollar I spent, and they took every dollar that I made, and trust me, they gave me much more in return later on. But that to me was a feeling, and I love that feeling of freedom. And throughout our lives, and as we grew older and got careers and our own business, we just amplified that. So, financial freedom isn't, and some people are like, when I make $1 million, I'll have financial freedom.
Right.
There's this picture I remember as a kid. There's this meme that says, when I was a kid, I thought $1 million could buy me this big house, and it would look like this huge, like, Fresh Prince of Bel-Air mansion sort of thing. And they're like, but now $1 million buys me this, like, shack in Toronto, And so, like, it definitely isn't about how much money you make.
Oh, yeah.
It really has to do with the feeling, because I've worked with clients who have millions of dollars. I've had family members who have millions of dollars, and don't try to kidnap me for ransom, because they're so cheap that they wouldn't spend that money to get me back. Like that, they don't have financial freedom because they're so rigid with their money, and they don't use that money to live their hearts out. They don't live that money to go live and use that money to go on vacation, to live in their dream house, to have experiences, to learn and grow. Right. They're just kind of trapped in this limited mindset where they're still in lack. So when you're starving and you're in lack, there's nothing that could fill that void.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Like we've seen examples of like, like the boss of the boss of your building,
we're not names.
We're not going to mention names, but like that dude was ultra rich. But then once we like got a little bit closer to him, he was having issues with like relationships, health, that type of thing. And it's like, he's always just chasing the deal. And so that to me is not fully rich. That's not financial freedom, because someone like that is an example of, someone who's trapped in prison by the idea of this financial freedom. So it could actually hurt you if you don't get it right. I'm not saying it's like we're getting it fully right, but we got some right.
Yeah, I would say, I'm proud of where we are and what we've accomplished. Again, not for a checkbox or a to-do list sort of thing, but more in just the lifestyle that we've worked towards, of having the freedom to do what we want, when we want, and how we want to do it. And, going back to my parents, like they are always on me to be like, well, why aren't you doing this more? Why aren't you working more? Why aren't you working on this business? And I'm like, because our kids are still little. Yeah. If I wanted to make millions of dollars, I could. And that's another topic too, is to have the confidence to do that. But for me, it's for what? Like, you're going to make millions of dollars for what? That you can do what? And
yeah, it's crazy.
So I'm like, I would rather spend all my money now. I know that we have a kind of a lopsided view of things, in that we'd rather spend all our money now rather than save for retirement, because we want to enjoy our life now while we're here. I don't know what 20 years from now is going to bring. Yeah. I've worked with people in palliative care. I've worked with people who are dying. I've worked with people who are sick. they save and save until they get to their 60s, and then
Holy smokes.
and then they hit this financial freedom. They have this pension check coming in, but
Yeah.
they're too sick to get up
They're
off
too
the
sick.
chair.
We
to enjoy it.
even know someone personally that shared that it was either their dad or their uncle or something, like waited until retirement, and then the first day of retirement he died.
Yeah, and it's
And it's
sad, and it just happens
It happens.
way too often. And I said, look, to my parents, I say, my kids are only this little for so long. I would rather experience life with them while I can, rather than work so hard
Yeah.
to get, what you've shared with me is like, it's just zeros in the bank. It's just like, these are just zeros on a screen, rather.
Yeah.
Like, it's just
They
an
are.
idea,
They are.
right? So to me, financial freedom is living life, is
Yeah.
having experiences where you feel alive,
Right.
and you feel like you're living.
So one of the things that I like to talk about with my group is legacy.
Okay.
A lot of people get this idea that, oh my gosh, I gotta leave a legacy, this financial legacy for my people, especially my kids, my grandkids, and all that.
I think
Now-
that's a guy thing. I
Yeah,
think that's
it is.
more
It
of a
is.
guy
It
thing
is
to
definitely.
want to
It
do
is.
that.
It is definitely a guy thing. But when you break it down, though, it's like, do you even know who your great grandparents are? Like, do you know their names?
No,
No.
I don't
So-
actually.
Now, here's another cooler thing to think about. If you left them money as a legacy, because money can come and go very quickly, what happens if, like, your grandchild just has this amazing idea, invest in this type of company, and loses it in a second? Gone. Your legacy's gone.
Yeah.
Now what? Right? So it's like, people focus too much on that idea. They romanticize about that way too often, and they forget to be here now.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
The present moment. And I love what you're talking about, because, it's okay to have regret at the end of your life, but when you're young and you actually see that there could be, you have a choice right now.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say it's okay to have regret when you're older either.
It is
But
okay,
but
though. People do.
It's common.
Yeah.
People do that. Yeah, for sure. I think men do care about leaving this legacy because it's more incumbent upon men. I think.
Yeah, it's
at
the
least
breadwinner,
being
bring
all
home
that.
the bacon, like,
But again, it's like, okay, so you're doing all this for later, and you're sacrificing now for later something you can't control.
and you don't know your kids.
Yeah.
You're doing all this stuff, and your kids are on a screen all day long, and you think of yourself as like sacrificing for the family, but in reality, maybe all your kids need is your love and your attention and your presence. Like, I just spoke with a really good friend the other day about this. He was trapped in that cycle. It was really, really dark. He was working like 14, 15, 16 hours a day and then he has young kids too. And he was just sharing with me how he had this realization, and now, they have this, different way, and it's a lot better now. But a lot of men don't see that.
Yeah. And I would say, my parents, when I was a kid, they didn't have much, but I did spend a lot of time with my parents because my dad had a simple job. He was a factory worker, but after work, we would spend time together as a family. Every dinner was together. There were no screen time then. We just actually sat and had a real conversation, like face to face. And these are the things that I remember about my childhood. We didn't go on vacation. We didn't go to all these fancy extracurricular activities. We had very little, and we were bored, and we learned to use our imagination and play. And, when my parents, they could have, when I was a kid, they could have had a business like some of my other family members did. But they wanted to spend time with us.
Mhm.
And, I do have family members who they worked really, really hard because they felt they had to. And that's the thing. It's just like, what's the line? Like, how much do you have to work and for how much, right? Because, like, what do we really need as a family?
I feel we gotta mention, like, how we spend money as well. because that's all part of this financial freedom idea,
Conversation.
right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, if we have enough money in the bank to buy a Lamborghini, does that mean that we're financially free? Of course not, right? But it's like when we purchase things, I feel, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's more about like, hey, will this bring value into the world? Will this bring value to us? Are we doing this from a place of fear or from a place of love? Those are literally the ways that we spend money. Sometimes it's, to most people, it's a lot of money. It's ridiculous. In fact, for vacations or whatever, the thing is, or coaching or whatever.
Okay, so let's backtrack the question.
Yeah.
So the question is,
there was no question. Oh,
well,
you add on how we spend money.
Yeah. So the question is, how do you spend your money in a way that you aren't burning it and you can still contribute to having a financially free life?
Yeah, and feel financially free.
And I think on the simplest level, that's
Sure.
the question we're answering.
Yeah.
And for us in our family, we look at, well, first of all, we don't budget. So for us, we believe that budgeting is looking at something from a limited mindset. Because if we say, oh, I only have $10 to spend on this, and we're working and we're living like that, it can be very stressful because you're always looking at the limit, the ceiling. And so when we want to buy something, let's say a vacation and an experience, we don't look at what budget we have for this experience. We ask ourselves, what experience do we want to have? And then we look at what the investment would be. Let's say it's $10,000 for this vacation. Then to us, we'll say, is it worth it for us? Is it worth $10,000 to have that experience? And then let's say we land on yes. Then if we don't have $10,000, then we will find a way to earn it or borrow money from the bank. And we have done this before.
Or our parents, or try to.
No, we don't do that. We wish. So we have been on vacations before where we literally took out a line of credit. We got a loan from the bank to go on vacation. And my parents would think that it's the most irresponsible thing. That's why we wouldn't tell them until now, that we would borrow money to go on vacation. How irresponsible is that? But to us, that is an investment on an experience. We're living. We're going to enjoy this vacation. And then when we come back, we're happier people. We're more inspired. We're more productive.
Yeah.
We're more enjoyable to be around.
Yeah.
And we've always been able to make that money back.
Yeah. Because most people, including myself before, we would always operate on like what makes sense.
Right.
And when
practical.
What's practical. And when we do these types of things, most people would look at us like we're crazy. But there's still an unknown factor where, like, just like what Nancy was talking about, when we go on vacation, we leave home, but so we have to go inside, right? And therefore, a lot of different ideas come to us, and we just figure stuff out while we're on vacation.
Yeah,
as well.
Totally. It's when you go on vacation, like, to me, traveling is such a big part of having financial freedom, because you get to see the world, you get to see different parts of the world, and you get to see your world with a different lens when you come home, and you're more creative and inspired. And so I guess really to answer the earlier question of, how do you live such a way without tons of money, is these are investments that we make. We invest in order to have financial freedom. We invest in experiences where we're going to grow and be better people. Traveling is one of them. Mm-hmm. And another investment that we make is into our health.
Yeah.
Like, that is, I don't know much about stocks. We don't invest in stocks. Well, I don't anyway. And because I don't know anything about it. And that's the one thing that I learned from Warren Buffett, is he said, only make investments, or only invest in the things that you have a good understanding of. And for me, I have a good understanding of health, being a health professional, and I invest in my health because I know that the returns are going to come back multiple fold, right? So if we eat healthy, good foods now, we're going to be healthy for years to come. If we're exercising and moving our body now, same thing, right? So that's one way of investing into your financial freedom, is being healthier, because it doesn't matter, again, if you have $1 million in the bank, if you aren't around 10, 20 years down the road. And also, even if you were around, you're going to be like zombie on the sofa, not being able to enjoy the money.
Yeah, because that's more of a preventative approach, which is what a lot of people don't really buy into, because they want the instant gratification. Just like when you were working as a physiotherapist, it's like how many people wouldn't do their exercises because they wouldn't see like the instant gain, right? They want that quick fix. They want that quick pill, crack, whatever it is, most of the time. And so by investing in your health, by doing the things that will keep you healthier longer, you're gonna see the results on a more gradual, spaced out time frame. But if you just like pay for more expensive food now at the health food store, you just won't have to pay for it later, with your hospital bills and all the aches and pains and shit that you can avoid.
It's true. And that's, even though we're talking about health, you're contributing to your financial freedom, because you're literally saving thousands of dollars on hospital bills, meds, and all that stuff. Yeah. And that's just something people don't look at. They compartmentalize their life into health and finances and work or whatever, when it's your life. So in order to have financial freedom in your life, you can invest in your health and in different parts of your life to contribute to your financial freedom.
Yeah.
But I don't agree with you in that when you say when you invest in your health, you don't get instant gratification. You get a return later on in life. I would say that when you invest in your health now, you can reap the rewards now. I mean, if we spend, just a solid week of drinking a lot more water and doing a daily walk and meditation,
sure,
you are going to feel much better. I mean, it's that simple. And as I said earlier, I really believe, and for me, like, financial freedom is the feeling. So when I feel so good in my body, when I'm outside every day, going for a walk, meditating every day, I feel so good. And that feeling perpetuates itself. Like, one of my favorite things to do is to lie in our field and lie on the ground and look at all the grass. And then I see like millions of blades of grass. And then I look up at the sky, and then I see expansive sky, and then I see all the trees and all the leaves rustling in the wind. And then I think, damn, I am so rich, because the world is so expansive, and that world isn't just my world, that's everybody's world. And we just have to get to that place where we can feel that rich and that abundant and that freedom. And I don't experience that every moment of every day, but when I can tap into that feeling, that ricochets into other areas of my life.
Absolutely. I mean, to get to this point, we've had a lot of bumps and bruises, a lot of ups and downs. Another thing we invest in is coaching, actually.
Yes.
Because it's possible that we don't see things that other people see that could actually help us get from here all the way to here, in a very quick amount of time. So that's why we invest in coaching the people that we feel speak the truth. We kind of just jump on their bandwagon, and it's like, okay, teach me what you know, show me your processes, share with me some of your tools, and then that's how we can elevate higher. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great point. I mean, we're in that case, we're standing on the shoulders of giants, as the saying goes. So one of the ways we can contribute to financial freedom is time freedom, right? The more time you have, the more choices you have. And when we've invested in coaches, we've up-leveled ourselves. We can break through our glass ceilings and we can get to where we want to go faster.
Right.
And not necessarily faster because we're all about slowing things down and experiencing life and being grateful for each moment. But when we've worked with a coach, well, definitely for me, I can speak on, I don't know about you, but
I'll share an example after.
I would say that I am way more capable than I would think on my own. You know, even just this morning when I was at the gym, we had this challenge going on where you have to do push-ups, and whoever does the most, who gets the most improved, wins this $50 gift card. And at home, I was only able to do 9 push-ups. So I said, okay, great. I have a big area for improvement. But when then we went to the gym and she's like, okay, everybody start. She was watching me. I did 20 push-ups. And then after a few weeks, I was able to do 40 push-ups. And she's like, wow, you did a great job. Were you practicing? And I was like, no, I wasn't practicing at all. But working with a coach, someone who believes in me and encourages me, I was able to push myself harder than I would have thought. So, you know, on a simple level, to me, freedom, financial freedom, it's all the same. We have options. We're growing as people and we're living full, vibrant lives. So, what else do you got to add? You have your story?
Yeah, just a quick one. You know, my line of work is sales, right? So I was stuck. You know, my calls were going like an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, and then nothing would come about, you know, with that deal. And I was stuck. I was, you know, stressed, anxious all the time. I would come down, I would make like 3 sales in a day, and I would come down and like, why is my steak cold? Like just in an upset mood. You remember those days?
I remember.
So intuitively, I knew I needed something. I wanted something different because what I was doing was getting like okay results, you know, still bringing home some bacon, but it just wasn't the way that I really felt good about, right? So then I got some coaching, you know, started with the smaller, you know, package, and then the middle one, then it went all in for the bigger package. And then now my sales calls are like, you know, 30 minutes or less and make 5-6 times the amount of money that I made before. And now I get to like sit here with my wife, you know, shooting an episode talking about financial freedom. But that would never have happened if I just kind of stayed stuck there and be like, oh yeah, this is all I know, this is all I got. Well, let's just keep going at it, you know, because what, like a person who, and this is not to be demeaning in any way at all, a person who, let's say, flips burgers, you know, 9 to 5 and thinks that's the only way to make money and is resistant to coaching, and they just keep doing it that way, hoping and praying that one day they'll get rich with the lottery ticket. That's a really tough way to get and feel financially free.
Yeah,
you know?
For sure. So, I mean, this is obviously a big topic. We can go on forever about it, but to sum up, I would say financial freedom is not about the amount of money. It is a feeling, it is a lifestyle, and how we've achieved this well before our 40s is that we've invested in ourselves, we invested in our health, we invested in traveling and our experiences, and we invested in our growth by working with people who have the lifestyle that we aspire to.
Yeah.
So, if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, share it with your friends. There's links below to other ways you can learn and grow and obtain financial freedom. Until the next episode, live your heart out.
Peace.